Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Iragwa Fiacre. I'm a member of Group 06, Subgroup 4. We have a topic called evaporation. In Subgroup 4, we are 3 members: Murekasenge Ponef, Iragwa Fiacre, and Mukanda Isaba Eline. We have some content we are going to talk about. The first one are the introduction, factors affecting evaporation, instrument used to measure evaporation rate, methods used to measure evaporation rate, importance of evaporation, negative effect of evaporation, principle of evaporation, conclusion and references. We have some short quiz. You have to ask yourself while you are going to hear these videos. The first one, what do we mean about the term evaporation? What are the main factors that affect evaporation? What are the instruments to be used while measuring evaporation rate? Is evaporation rate measured? If yes, what are the methods to be used? Identify the importance of evaporation. Seventh question is, says, can evaporation negatively affect the environment? If yes, what are those impacts? The last one, outline the principle of evaporation. Firstly, is the introduction. What is evaporation? Evaporation refers to the physical process in which liquid water is converted into gaseous state due to the absorption of heat energy. As we see on this picture, it shows you how evaporation is taking place, where we see some clouds coming from soil into the atmosphere. So these are the different factors affecting evaporation. Factors affecting evaporation are many. For example, temperature, surface area, humidity, and wind speed. Here, there is the environment factors of evaporation. As we see on these pictures, it shows how temperature affects evaporation. Temperature, it affects evaporation in this way. Higher temperature increases the kinetic energy of the liquid molecules, leading to faster evaporation. As you see on this picture, which shows how when the temperature increases, the effect of temperature, when the temperature increases, it will make evaporation happen faster. The second factor is humidity. The presence of water vapor in the air, humidity affects evaporation. High humidity level reduce the rate of evaporation because the air is already saturated with water vapor. As we see on these pictures, it shows the lower the humidity, the higher the rate of evaporation. When the humidity becomes too low, it faster or increase the rate of evaporation. So we are going to continue with point 4, vapor pressure. The facial pressure exerted by the water vapor in the air affects evaporation. Higher vapor pressure slows down evaporation. When the vapor pressure becomes too slow, when the vapor pressure becomes too high, vapor pressure slow down evaporation. So, this slide we have some pictures showing how the vapor pressure it affects evaporation. We are going to continue on the point 4, air movement. Moving air wind helps carry away water vapor from the liquid surface, facilitating evaporation. The higher the wind speed, the higher the evaporation rate. It shows when the speed of wind it increases or when it becomes too more, it causes evaporation rate to 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 happen faster. As we see on this slide, where we have a picture explaining how the air movement affects the evaporation. On the other side, we have water factors of evaporation. On this slide, we have the water factors of evaporation, like surface area. A large surface area allows more molecules to escape from the liquid, accelerating the evaporation rate. When the surface area it increases, molecules to escape from the liquid, accelerating the evaporation factors. So we are going to continue with the composition of water. The composition of the liquid being evaporated can affect its evaporation rate. For instance, the liquid with volatile component tends to evaporate more quickly than those with less volatile constituents. Another is purity. Impurity or dissolved substance in water can alter its evaporation characteristics. Pure water evaporates faster compared to water containing impurity due to difference in intermolecular interactions. There are some instruments used to measure evaporation rate. Pitch evaporimeter. Pitch evaporimeter, it consists of a 32 centimeter long graduated tube of 1 centimeter inside the diameter. It is closed at one end. The other end of the tube is open and has a flat edge. There is a disc and clamp arrangement by which this end can be covered by a filter paper. On this slide, we have some instruments called the pitch evaporimeter, where we have a picture showing those instruments used to measure the rate of evaporation. We have another instrument called sunken evaporation pan. It is a galvanized iron pan about 183 centimeter in diameter and 61 centimeter deep. It is the ground keeping 10 centimeter height above the ground. The water is filled in the pan, then the level of which is generally kept 1 centimeter above ground level. The rate of water loss from the pan gives the rate of evaporation. Because of its size, this evaporimeter gives good index of lake evaporation.
Another measurement used in evaporation pans as weather bureau class A land plan evaporimeter. It is a 122 centimeter diameter, forked 25.4 centimeter, 10 inches deep unpainted galvanized iron pan. It is installed on wooden frame in such a manner that the bottom of the pan is about 50 centimeters above the ground level. The water is filled to a depth of about 80 centimeters in pans. The pan is connected to insulating well fitted with hook gangs to measure the water level accurately. This diagram is used to measure evaporation pan. Here there are methods used to measure evaporation rate. First, gravimetric method, mass loss measurement. This is direct method involves weighting a water sample before and after a specific period of time. The difference in weight corresponds to the amount of water evaporated. The second one, eddy covariance EC method. This technique uses high frequency measurement of wind, speed, temperature, and humidity to estimate evaporation. It relies on turbulence exchange of heat and moisture between the surface and atmosphere. Another one method uses Bohren ratio energy balance. By comparing sensible heat flux and latent heat flux, this method estimates evaporation. It requires measurements of temperature and humidity gradient. The fourth one, rismeter. Rismeters are specialized devices that directly measure water loss from soil or other surface. They can be used to estimate evaporation rate. Another method, Bohren ratio energy balance. By comparing sensible heat flux and latent heat flux, this method estimates evaporation. It requires measurements of temperature and humidity gradients. Another method, lysimeter. Lysimeters are specialized devices that directly measure water loss from soil or other surface. They can be used to estimate evaporation rate. Mass balance method. This method involves tracking water input, precipitation, irrigation, etc., and out runoff, drainage, and etc., to calculate the next evaporation from system. They consider both water gain and loss. Here, there are importance of evaporation in general. First, evaporation, it is an important part of water cycle because it allows large amounts of water to move from bodies of water on Earth up into the atmosphere. As we know, evaporation, it helps us in water cycle. Firstly, water in sea, there are some waters, after some time it evaporates into atmosphere. Then it evaporates, it is condensed to form cloud. This cloud, it is precipitate, and after some time it gives rainfall. Another important of evaporation, it helps to keep the air moist and provide moisture to the cloud. Evaporation, it provides moisture to the cloud. Another one, it cool the environment when water evaporates and warm the environment when it condenses. Another important, it purifies water which then replenish the land with fresh water. Another important, it is used in many industrial applications such printing and coating process, recovering salt from solution, and drying a variety of materials such as rubber, paper, cloth, and chemicals. Here they are important of evaporation in animal. Evaporation plays a crucial role in thermoregulation and survival of animals, especially those living in extreme environments where water availability is limited. So, evaporation of animal, it helps to survive of animals. Another example of those animals are jack, rabbit, kids, fox, and dun rat have developed specific behavioral adaptation to escape with the challenge of living in arid region. They are important on crops. They are important of evaporation on crops. First, water availability. Evaporation from the soil surface helps in maintaining a suitable moisture level in root zone for plant uptake. It contributes to replenishing soil moisture after rain or irrigation, ensuring that plants have access to water for growth and metabolic process. The second, cooling effect. Evaporation from plant surface, especially during transpiration, provides a cooling effect that helps regulate plant temperature. This cooling effect is essential for preventing heat stress in crops, particularly during hot and dry conditions. Another important, nutrient uptake. Evaporation influences nutrient availability in the soil by affecting soil moisture content. Adequate soil moisture level maintained through controlled evaporation support nutrient uptake by plant roots, promoting healthy growth and development. Another important, disease prevention. Proper evaporation rates help in reducing excess soil moisture, which can contribute to conditions favorable for certain plant disease. By managing evaporation efficiently, farmers can mitigate risks associated with water-related disease. Optimal growth condition. Optimal growth condition, there is another important on crop. This is maintaining an appropriate balance of evaporation, ensure that crops receive sufficient water without leading to waterlogging or water stress. This optimal water supply supports photosynthesis, nutrient transport, and overall crop productivity.
As we have seen that evaporation has an important, it also have negative effect to the atmosphere, crops or animals. So about the negative effect of evaporation in general, where more rain and flooding is occurred, then it will result to more evaporation. So there is more water in the air, so storms can produce more intense rainfall event in some areas where this flooding taken as a risk to the environment and human health. And also more extreme drought, which is a result from the evaporation. It causes a warmer temperature where the water turns into vapors in the air and causing drought in some areas of the world. And also evaporation results due to increased cloud formation, where this increased evaporation will tend to cause clouds to form low in the atmosphere, which act to reflect the sun's warming rays back out into the space. So as the evaporation rate becomes too much or increased, it will result to the cloud formation. Negative effect of evaporation on crops. As you have seen, when the evaporation rate becomes too much or too low, it causes negative effect to the crops that I'm going to talk about. The first effect is about water stress. When evaporation rate is becoming increased or too low, it leads to the loss of soil moisture, which can result in water stress for crops. And also, high rate of evaporation or low rate of evaporation may result to the reduced yield, where insufficient water availability results or leads to low yield, where due to the excess evaporation can limit crop productivity and reduce yield. To mean that this, when the level of evaporation increases or decreases below the optimum level, it will result to reduced yield of the crops. And also the increase of evaporation or reduced rate of evaporation will result to nutrient concentration, where as water evaporates from the soil, this increases soil salinity, which can create unfavorable conditions for crops. As we know, there is some crops which is favored by acidic conditions, others with basic conditions, and other plants are favored by normal condition of the pH. So when the soil salinity increases above the pH that a plant can tolerate, this will result to the nutrient concentration in the soil. Another effect is about soil degradation, where the prolonged evaporation and insufficient water replenishment can contribute to soil degradation, to mean that the increased level of evaporation rate can result to soil degradation, so that the environment in general can be degraded. The changes in soil quality can further impact crop growth and productivity. As this effect we have said, when both are combined, it will result to low yield, as we have said, of the crops. And this picture shows how the evaporation rate was resulted to the destruction and result to the low yield of the crops, where you have seen one part have a well-grown plant, while on the other side there is no crops grown, to mean that the increase of evaporation rate or decrease of evaporation rate below or above the optimal evaporation rate that can favor crops, those crops will be degraded and the yield will become so low. Then evaporation also have negative effect to the animals. As you have seen that there is effect to the crops, there is also another effect of evaporation on the animals, where this increase of evaporation or decrease of evaporation will result to dehydration. So as evaporation leads to the loss of water from the environment, as we know that this evaporation is the physical condition where water or liquid becomes or changes into gaseous. So as the water from the environment evaporate or becoming vapors, it will include water bodies like lakes, ponds, and rivers. So as the water vapors increases or evaporation rate increases, it will result to dehydration. And also, evaporation will result to loss of habitat. In this case, excessive evaporation can cause the complete drying up of the bodies, like water bodies, and resulting to the loss of aquatic habitat. For example, as you are seeing, this picture shows how there is animals lived in the forest. So as a result or an effect of this evaporation, you are seeing that this trees has become dried out, and the animals which is living there, they face a change or negative effect of that increase of evaporation as the habitat has been destroyed and dried out. So this excessive evaporation or increase of the rate of evaporation will result some organisms and animals to lose their habitat or a place where they are living. And also, the excessive or change in evaporation rate will limit the food resources to the animals, where evaporation rate also influences the availability of food for the animals. In case where there is a favorable or optimal rate of evaporation, these food resources will be available, but in case of excessive or too low evaporation rate, this food will be limited, so those organisms or animals may face a challenge of lacking food resources. Another impact is about reproduction, where excessive evaporation rate can impact the reproduction of the animals, so as some animals rely on specific environmental conditions including water availability and reproduce successfully. When the evaporation becomes too high or becomes excessive, water bodies will evaporate, and when the evaporation rate increases, to mean that those water bodies will be impacted, and those animals which is living there will be impacted by the change in the environment, so that they cannot reproduce as they are expected. So excessive evaporation can disrupt the conditions or interfering with breeding patterns and causing decline in reproductive success. And also, evaporation rate can increase competition and conflict. Where the evaporation rate increases or becomes too much or excessive, the water bodies may become dried out. When they becomes scarce due to the evaporation, animals may be forced to compete for the limited resources. So the competition can lead to increased aggression or territory dispute and overall stress of the animal populations. As you are seeing this picture is showing how the animals is competing for the resources, and as they are competing for the resources, the competition will increase conflict among those animals, as you are seeing on this picture. So evaporation, as you have seen, it has a positive effect, a negative effect in general or to the crops and animals. We have also the principles which is focused on in evaporation. Here the key points regarding to the principles of evaporation are included. The first one is about escape of the surface molecules as vapors. The second is termed as higher thermal energy at the surface. And the third one is about spontaneous transformation driven by entropy increase, the absorption of heat from the surrounding, and faster evaporation for volatile liquids. So as on the first page, we have shown you the questions that we may ask ourselves when we are discussing about evaporation. We have find out the answers to those questions, where the first question was asked about the evaporation. What do we mean by the term evaporation? So we have seen that the evaporation refers to the physical process in which liquid water is converted into gaseous state due to the absorption of the energy. The second question was asking about factors affecting evaporation, where we have seen that the temperature, humidity, air movement, and surface area can affect the rate of evaporation. And the instrument that may be used or can be used to measure the evaporation rate, we have seen that there is pitch evaporometer, sunken evaporation pan, and USA with the zero class or a round pan evaporometer. And also we have seen that the evaporation rate can be measured. Yes, of course it can be measured, and the methods that can be used are gravimetric method, eddy coefficient, Bowen ratio energy, Reynolds and Bowen ratio energy balance. So in conclusion, evaporation has too many impacts, positively or negatively, where positively it can affect the high yield of the crops and negatively loss of destruction of the habitat. So this is the reference where we have shown you the references of the image we have put in our slides, and also the links of the videos we have focused on during seeing the factors which can affect evaporation rate. So thank you for your kind attention.